Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to be invited to this forum because this is my first visit to Azerbaijan. So it's a great opportunity for me to see this beautiful country and to share my view with you about the situation in this region. Although, as Mr. Chair has introduced, my traditional interests and research areas are concerned mainly with strategic issues and major power relations. Today's address, I've mainly focused on China-Azerbaijan economic cooperation in the backdrop of One Belt, One Road, much more pragmatic issue. I hope you will be interested in this topic. Azerbaijan has the strongest economy and largest territory and the biggest population amongst the three republics of South Caucasus. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Azerbaijan, our two countries have made great achievements in economic cooperation, given the favorable conditions deriving from One Belt, One Road initiative and the economic diversification of Azerbaijan. China and Azerbaijan are able to drive economic cooperation to a higher level. First of all, let me make a brief review about the achievements of China-Azerbaijan economic cooperation. After Azerbaijan's independence, China timely recognized it and established full diplomatic relations with Azerbaijan based on good bilateral relations and rapidly developing internal economy. China-Azerbaijan economic cooperation scores fruitful achievements. The state leaders advanced policy communication. Azerbaijan is a key country in the One Belt, One Road initiative and a founding member of AIIB, the so-called Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. In December 2015, President of Azerbaijan, Aliyev, visited China and signed with China a MOU on construction of the Silk Road economic belt. In late May 2016, Meng Jianzhu, the special envoy of President Xi Jinping, visited Azerbaijan. 1 week later, Zhang Gaoli, member of the Standing Committee of the Politburo of the CPC Central Committee, arrived in Azerbaijan. Such frequent high-level visits bring China-Azerbaijan economic cooperation on the backdrop of One Belt, One Road to a higher level. Trade and investment cooperation makes fruitful achievements. The bilateral trade volume reached $976 million in 2016. That's about 650-fold larger than 1992. Currently, China is the fifth largest trade partner and the third largest source of imports of Azerbaijan. High-quality agricultural products and crude oil of Azerbaijan appear in China's market and is welcomed warmly. Up to June 2016, the investment stock of China in Azerbaijan amounted to $420 million, and the Azeri investment in China also reached $7.8 million. The bilateral investment cooperation involves oil, gas, infrastructure, IT, agriculture, and so on. Pragmatic cooperation bears fruits comprehensively. In August 2015, the first Chinese container train, Nomad Express, arrived in Baku port. In July 2016, China Southern Airlines opened a new flight route connecting Baku, Urumqi, and Guangzhou. During the Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation in Beijing, China and Azerbaijan signed an MOU on economic and trade cooperation. Azerbaijan State Oil Company and China National Petroleum Corporation and China Development Bank signed MOU on GPC project, which envisages construction of gas processing and a petrochemical complex just 15 kilometers away from Baku. Agreements on measurement authentication were also inked during the forum. Now, on the opportunities and challenges faced by the cooperation between our two countries. Interconnection is a common goal of China and Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan put forward the initiative of Great Silk Road as early as 1990s, aiming at cross-border interconnections of transportation infrastructures. Therefore, when we talk about One Belt, One Road, we must bear in mind that Azerbaijan is a pioneering actor on infrastructure interconnection. And this makes China and Azerbaijan perfect partners to each other. 20 years later, Azerbaijan has become a significant transit country of Eurasia. In January to February 2017, this year, 1.9 million tons of cargoes were transported via the transport corridor, Europe, Caucasus, Asia, through Azerbaijan's territory, accounting for 21.6% of the whole line. That is the Europe, Caucasus, Asia corridor. Up to now, there are mainly two significant international routes passing through Azerbaijan: China, Central Asia, Caspian Sea, Azerbaijan, Europe cargo railway line, and Russia, Azerbaijan, Iran north-south transport corridor. The two transport lines can potentially become the bracket of China, Central Asia, West Asia economic corridor as well. Economic diversification of Azerbaijan is a historical opportunity for China. Azerbaijan Industrial Cooperation. Currently, non-oil output value accounts for nearly 70% of Azerbaijan's GDP. This is a fabulous achievement for a previously heavily oil-dependent developing economy. In the future, economic diversification is still important for Azerbaijan, given the non-oil sectors are still closely related with oil sector. And the plunged oil prices actually contribute a lot to the shrinking output value of oil sector. Economic diversification calls for the development of basic manufacturing sectors like steel, machinery, communication equipment, agricultural, machinery, and chemistry, which is precisely what China does well, and can be priority area for our cooperation. China's economic transformation provides new opportunities. Firstly, aging population and upgraded technology is transforming China's economic growth model from export and investment promotion to consumption and innovation-driven model. As a result, enlarging import is an irresistible trend. Azerbaijan has rich, high-educated labor force and high efficiency and accountable government. So it's full qualified to be high-quality manufacturing and exporting base, catering for China's importing demands. Secondly, China's investment abroad has exceeded foreign investment in China, making China a net capital supplier. Meanwhile, Azerbaijan is coming to a key stage of economic diversification and needs financial support. Therefore, further advancing bilateral investment cooperation between our countries can be expected. Of course, at the same time, we should not forget there are many challenges in front of us. Security risks still loom large. South Caucasus adjoins two geopolitical hotspots, Ukraine and the Middle East. Islam extremists and terrorists from Middle East are infiltrating neighboring regions, including South Caucasus. Problems of Ukraine, the issue of Ukraine, undoubtedly hinder regional cooperation. And inside South Caucasus, the potential factors which may give rise or risks to war deriving from conflicts such as the territorial disputes still remain. Mutual understanding between our two peoples is still insufficient. Most ordinary Chinese know little about Azerbaijan, and even that for the educated people, for their knowledge is mainly has almost been outdated. Most Azerbaijanis have incomplete and even wrong knowledge about China. Some Azerbaijani knows little about the latest progress China has made, especially in economic development, to the extent that most knowledge stays in the Soviet era. Some Azerbaijani expert even wrongly thinks that the One Belt, One Road initiative is aiming at exporting labor force. So these perceptions are the barriers yet to be overcome in the cooperation between our two countries. Last, over the future direction of China-Azerbaijani economic cooperation, I mentioned the following points. Firstly, the potential of market-oriented cooperation should be fully exploited. A prominent feature of China-Azerbaijan economic cooperation is private enterprise dominant, which is different from cooperation with countries like Pakistan. In the short run, cooperation between private enterprises is not as dazzling as that of huge state-owned enterprises. But market-dominant activity is more flexible, sustainable, and profitable in the long run. Moreover, cooperation of private enterprises is non-governmental and based on business preference, thus can make profound positive influence to bilateral relations. Therefore, our two countries should continue support private sector cooperation and cultivate the full potential of it. Secondly, enlarge regional logistics hinterland and cultivate traffic hubs. Developing economy is the common goal of countries in and outside South Caucasus. Concerned countries can cooperate on cutting transport costs, streamlining custom procedure, and strengthening connections of infrastructures to increase transport efficiency. In this way, goods will converge to transportation arteries rather than scattering on different lines, and profits of transnational transportation can be guaranteed, no longer needing any government subsidy. And regional and even international traffic hubs may emerge gradually. Thirdly, reduce geopolitical risks. President Xi in BRF calls for building one belt, one road into a road for peace. South Caucasus faces both traditional security challenge of war risks resulting from territorial disputes and non-traditional security challenge of infiltration of terrorists and extremists. China always advocates shelf disputes and carry out joint development, take resolution of the UN as principal basis for resolving territorial disputes, depend on international cooperation to cope with non-traditional security challenges. In the long run, concerned countries should try to reduce negative impacts of specific conflicts on overall cooperation and create a favorable mode and opportunities for resolving disputes by enlarging cooperative areas. Fourth, deepen cultural cooperation. China-Azerbaijan cultural cooperation develops rapidly, but has yet to be deepened. As I just mentioned, in the future, cultural cooperation should expand from, say, the Confucius Institutes and exchange of students to including Chamber of Commerce communication, exchange and education of public officials, think tank cooperation, and so on. The potential in each other's between our two countries should be more fully utilized by governments so that a comprehensive humanitarian and cultural cooperation could be carried out and help bilateral economic cooperation. Thank you for your attention.